Good evening and welcome to the Village of Westmont Committee, the whole meeting for October 29th, 2009. Will the clerk please take the roll call?
Mayor Ron?
Here.
The clerk's here. Trustee Emery?
Here.
Trustee Fleming?
Here.
Trustee Forsley?
Here.
Trustee Klebanow?
Here.
Trustee Scott?
Here.
Trustee Seneca is absent tonight. Manager Searle?
Here.
Attorney Zemanek?
Here.
Economic Development Director and Assistant Manager Kimball? Here. Fire Chief Trout? Here. Deputy Fire Chief Weiss?
Here.
EMS Coordinator Drawley? Public Works Director May? Here. Police Chief Mulhern?
Here.
Thank you. Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. First item are the minutes of the Committee of the Whole meeting held October 15th and board meeting held October 19th, 2009. Any
There were corrections to the purchase orders. The wrong amounts were in. Those have already been corrected, and the corrected copies are at everybody's desk.
Okay. Anything else?
Nope.
Thank you. Next is open forum. And I don't believe we have any requests before us this evening for open forum. Reports, Mayor, the first thing I would like to do is mention that John Fleming and his wife Vicky just had a little baby boy. I believe it was Friday or Saturday. Went Tuesday. Thursday. I knew it. But anyhow, congratulations to both of you, and we liked seeing the sign on your building, letting everybody know about the birth. And that's your first child, right? Congratulations. And the next thing I would like to do is ask our Police Chief, Tom Mulhern, to come up to the podium, and he's got a few comments regarding Halloween safety for our trick-or-treaters here in Westmont.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to take this opportunity to remind all our residents that this Friday or Saturday is trick-or-treaters. It's Halloween. They'll be out, so we ask that the younger children be accompanied by their parents, have some adult supervision. As a guideline, it's not an ordinance, but by guidelines, we recommend that trick-or-treating be take place from 2 in the afternoon till dark for the younger children, and that all trick-or-treaters be safe at home by 7 o'clock at night. We also ask that parents also make a consideration of community events. The Park District has an event scheduled for Saturday afternoon. So in lieu of trick-or-treating, if you want to take your son or daughter to a very nice event, the Park District will have one for the afternoon. And we ask that the motorists please slow down on all the side streets, wherever a pedestrian may be. We just ask that they all just be careful for all the little trick-or-treaters are out there, so everyone has a safe and happy Halloween.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tom. And the next thing, I just wanted to make a comment. We have all of our departments here in the village are wonderful, but these past 2-3 days, the Public Works department has been working, and Trustee Klebanow and my neighborhood replacing curbs and doing some patchwork. And they are very neat and tidy in the way that they've been working in our area, and I'm sure that they do work all over the village. So kudos to them. We don't give our departments enough recognition, but I did want to mention that they were doing an excellent job in working in our particular neighborhood. And the thanks also go out to Steve May, the head of our Public Works Department. And that is all that I have at this time. Next, I will call upon our village clerk to see what she has for us this evening.
I just want to remind the residents that starting Monday, the month of November, you can have 2 soft yard waste bags out every pickup day for garbage. So I just want to remind them that that goes on the whole month of November. So
It's free.
and it's free.
It's free. Okay.
And secondly, John, just so you know, that's the same day as the mayor's birthday.
Oh.
And happy belated birthday to you.
Thank you. Anything else?
That's all.
Okay. Next, our village attorney, John Zemanek.
Nothing tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
Village manager, Ron Searle.
Thank you, I have nothing.
Village trustees, starting with trustee Fleming.
Actually, just a couple of things. Remember Saturday evening going into Sunday, roll your clocks back. We go back to daylight savings time this weekend. And the other thing that I wanted to say that Westmont lost a longtime resident last week. Mr. Ken Yater passed away last week, rather suddenly. So my condolences to the Yater family. They've been in town a long time. So, and that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Scott.
Nothing tonight, sir.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Forsley.
Just one item, Administration and Finance Committee will be meeting this Monday at 6 o'clock here in the room over here, and that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Klebanow.
I have a few things. This Monday also at 6:30, we have the Public Information Committee meeting right here in the meeting room. Just want to do a heads up since we won't have another committee of the whole by then, that Wednesday, November 11th is Veterans Day, and we have a beautiful ceremony at Ty Park at 11 o'clock. So remember the 11th month, 11th day at 11 a.m. Hopefully we'll see you at Ty Park, and I'm hoping that the clerk will remind everybody on Monday about that. Friday, November 13th, will be another electronic recycling. Do we have one more?
Yes,
Okay, December will still carry one more.
That's the last one, then we'll pick it up again like last year in May? June? Right.
Okay. So you still have this 13th and one more chance in December.
Yeah, do you want that date? It's the second Friday in December, which would be the 11th.
December 11th. Okay, so November 13th and the last one, December 11th for the year. And one more thing is, this is our 6-month kickoff for our Census 2010. So I want everybody to get ready, and I want everybody, if they can, to participate. We do have that the census will be April 1st, so it's our 6-month counting date. And our next meeting is November 23rd at 7 p.m. right here in the Village Hall. So if anybody would like to come, see if there's some way they could help, we definitely would enjoy having clergy people, people from the nursing facilities, anything like that, people who can help us get the word out and get the people to realize that the census is coming up April 1st. And again, that meeting is November 23rd, right here at 7 o'clock in our room. And I just want to wish everybody a very happy and safe Halloween. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Emery.
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Thank you. New business, 2009 Westmont Special Events Corporation Taste of Westmont Report.
Hello, everyone. How are you today? My name is Bob Mackert. I'm here to kind of give you a recap of the 2009 Taste of Westmont and Cruising Nights. I have a presentation here, and I promise I'll be brief. It is pretty big, but we'll go through it pretty quickly here. Okay.
Thank
I don't
you.
know if the overheads are on, or we can just kind of go through it. But I do like to start off by, first of all, thanking the village for their support of the 2009 Taste of Westmont and Cruising Nights. As you know, it's a joint effort between many different organizations, the WAC, the village, business communities, community organizations, residents, and volunteers. We feel that our 2009 Taste of Westmont and Cruising Nights was a great success this year, and we are looking forward to 2010. Just a quick history on WSCC. We've been around since, we were founded by the village in 2004. In January 2004, we were named and incorporated as a non-for-profit organization. Our original goal was to kind of work with or to continue on with the Taste of Westmont, but since that time we've taken on Cruising Nights, we've helped with Concerts in the Park with the Park District, and as well as helped with the Chamber with the Pumpkin Harvest Fest. Within our 5th year of the organizations, we've been able to host the 2009 Taste of Westmont and Cruising Nights without asking for grant money from the village. Every year our membership continues to grow in the organization, and behind me are all of our members. And if they want to come up, they're more than welcome to. I won't go through everyone's name right now, but they're all here. One member I do want to specifically mention real quick is a member who's been here since the beginning of the foundation of WSCC, and that is our media coordinator, Larry McIntyre. Larry has Larry wears many hats in the organization. Not only is he the village, liaison between WC and the village, but he's also a past president. He serves on, he chairs 2 committees. He basically helps on a lot of other committees, and we are very much dependent on his wisdom and years of experience with the organization. Quick recap regarding the Taste of Westmont. We were pretty much lucky this year with the weather. I know Friday was a little rainy, but we were able to kind of, start the event without having it rain, which was good. This year's theme was the Woodstock, as everyone knows. We had tie-dye T-shirts. We did up a van, painted up a VW van. We had hippies, and a lot of us feel that having a good theme like this really brings the community together and helps the organization. It's work together as a group. Also new this year, we had the downtown business participation. A lot of businesses set up tables outside their shops and handed out flyers and stuff, as well as a craft show we had this year, which was new, and I think that was pretty well received by the group. Food vendors this year, we had 19 food vendors. Last year, if you remember, we had 13, so I think 19 was a big improvement from the year before. I won't go through all the names right now. Entertainment. We still focused on the Woodstock theme through Friday and Saturday nights. We had a couple tribute bands on Friday. We had Santana, Crosby, Stills, and Nash tribute bands. On Saturday, we had a 1969 rock band, Clearance Clearwater Revival, and The Who. And then on Sunday, we had our traditional blues night with Lonnie Taylor Jr. and Eddie Taylor Jr. and Lonnie Brooks. Excuse me. Even with our U stage, we also continued on the Woodstock theme. We had a Jimi Hendrix contest, as well as we had other entertainment going on throughout the event. Commercial vendors, again, we had a lot of, this year we had a good number of commercial vendors that participated in the taste. I won't go through all of them, but they're all here. And please stop me if you have any questions. Also, some other activities. We had our carnival, beanbag tournament, bingo, and both entertainment, both in the dining and beer tent, which I think makes for a nice dining experience. Sponsorships this year, we had a good number of sponsors this year, and we appreciate all their supports. I won't go through them all by name, but as you can see here, we have our corporate platinum and gold sponsors here. Here's our silver and media sponsors, and we have others. And we have a full listing on our website if you want to go there, which is www.westmontspecialevents.com. Other events this year, we hosted our 5-year anniversary. We also assisted, again, with the Park District with concerts in the park and hiring bands, and as well as this year, we helped host the Pumpkin Harvest Fest for the Chamber. At this time, I'd like to call Gary Bray, who is our chairperson for the Cruising Nights, to kind of speak up and talk about Cruising Nights this year. Gary?
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Hi, how are you? Interesting, it's another Thursday night, and we've got rain in downtown Westmont. I can't catch a break. Anyway, just to recap a little bit about Cruising Nights. For 2009, we had a great season, I think. We increased the number of people that came out. Even with the 6 rainouts that we had, we still had a pretty good turnout. We actually had a record turnout, car-wise, one evening. So I believe it was midway through the season. I'm not real sure the exact date.
That was our second or third day.
Was it the second? I thought it was later day.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. We added 2 additional nights this year. We went beyond the traditional, what they've done in the past with the Labor Day, stopping it the week before Labor Day. We did the 3rd and the 10th, which actually worked out pretty well. We had a lot of people that showed up. Changing it up a little bit this year, we did some new car themes and logos just to try to jazz it up to make it a little bit more excitable for people. We had a new layout, which everybody knows we kind of extended it north towards Bank of America and Cass and Irving lot. And we did have raffles and People's Choice Awards, and we were able to get the people involved, even if they didn't have a car, to be able to come out and try to vote and do some voting. So their best of show. We had a big crew this year. We actually, was it 13 or 14 people, Bob?
Yeah, also with all the volunteers that
13 or 14 people came out, and there's just a new energy with the event. I feel really confident that it's going to take off even farther in 2010. We do have some things planned and some things that we want to build on, and there's some things that worked that are great we're going to build on. There's some things that didn't work, and we're not going to do them anymore. Entertainment-wise, we did have the usual live bands. We had the DJs, the radio station visits, and of course our new rock girl Leia from the Loop, which was a draw, even though she came out and it rained. And we did have quite a bit of sponsorship. Again, without a grant from the village board, we had gone ahead and knocked on some doors, and we got a lot of help, which was really nice. We also hope that we can do this again in 2010 with the sponsorship. And again, for just you folks letting us have the event. It's, we were looking forward to 2010 and go moving forward. Also, if you have any questions, just stop me.
All right, well, thank you, Gary.
That's all I got. And now it's Tom's turn.
Hey, yeah, I'd like to go, Tom. Tom is our treasurer, so I'd like to kind of have him go through the treasury report.
All right, good evening. I just want to start off to really give a thanks to the Village of Westmont and the Village Board for all the support that you have given to the WCC and the Taste of Westmont. We've not asked for grant money for the Taste of Westmont to make the taste happen, but we do fully understand and truly appreciate all of the levels of support that you've given to the WCC to make the taste happen. Without your support in the many different levels, it really wouldn't be able to happen. So let's get right into the meat of what the Taste of Westmont making it happen. Carnival, alcohol, and soda sponsorship. Those are our big items that we try to hit for the Taste of Westmont. Carnival, we show a net value. So we bring in roughly $21,000 is what we budgeted, and we came very close. We came in at about $19,500. So what we'll see is that we came real close, and we did a great job meeting our goals that we set for ourselves in 2009. Alcohol, we set a goal of 62.5. We came in at 60. Soda, 6,500. We did a great job with soda and came in at $6,700. Sponsorship, we really wanted to be proactive in understanding the economic situation of the village, of we're all in, setting a goal of $9,000, and we did it, with our team, we worked really hard and came in with $21,000. Really, without the work of the sponsorship team in WC, we really couldn't make that happen. So that was great. Vendors are very important. We set a goal for ourselves of $15,650, and what we came in with was $15,200. So still very close. We did a great job making that happen. We had additional areas of revenue with the craft show at $1,000, beanbag, and what was a huge hit, which was a lot of fun also, were tie-dye shirts. That was a lot of fun and brought in a little money for us. And then we always are cognizant of our money and try to build interest with CDs. So this is our expenses. Alcohol, $15,000 is what we spend on alcohol. Soda at $2,000, sponsorship $1,600, vendors $100. What it costs, some of the costs to make it happen. Entertainment, $25,000. We spent about $25,000. All really put a lot of work in making our goals. Publicity at $7,500. Really want a big kudos to Larry McIntyre for helping out with the publicity. We were able to get great publicity out for a great cost of roughly $2,300. Great job with that. And setup, setup is one of those big costs that really, it's a cost that we have to incur before a drop of alcohol is even poured and a carnival is even started at $42,000. And we met that goal right there. Thank you, Bob. So this is our working budget. This is where we're at year to date for the WCC. So this is just, we always want to keep a year-to-date idea of where we are with our finances. Yeah. Now this is a 5-year look at the earnings of the WSCC. As you can see, it's kind of hard to decipher, but let's take a look at just alcohol and carnival. 2009 we did 44,000, where 2008 we did 48,000, 2007 at 50,000. So we're keeping a somewhat level of performance in our company. I believe it was 2006 where it was a tough year on all levels, and that weather plays a big deal in the success of our event.
That was the year of we had that horrible heat during the taste. So,
Okay. I believe this is actually in this report. This is a copy of it. You go to this. All right, so total income and total sales. So 2009 was $109,000. 2008, so $136,000. 2007 was $166,000. In previous years, we did have grants, so some of these numbers do change a little bit. Whereas 2009, we're solely on ourselves. This is our 2000. This is a rough look at our 2010 expectations. This is not an approved budget yet. These are numbers that we have put together so far, which we will be taking to the board of directors for approval. Similar numbers, but what we really want to do is we want to start setting some goals for ourselves. So that goals that really set ourselves to become successful in the next year. So $49,000, for example, in alcohol. $44,000 is what we made in 2009. We want to be creative and find ways to make more money. So we're trying to set goals for ourselves to make that happen. 5-year review. We want to really maintain positive and cooperative relationship between WSCC and Village Westmont. Bob, this might be your stuff, but I just want to take a quick, say that we have done. I want to reiterate the importance that we want to have on thanking the village for all the support. You guys have given us a lot of stuff, and we really appreciate everything. So, Bob.
thank you, Tom. Larry, please, if you don't mind coming up. I'll have Larry McIntyre, finish up here for us.
Actually, I do have a few closing comments in just a moment, but actually now would be a good time to, if there's any questions on any aspect of the WSCC, Taste of Westmont, or Cruising Nights, we'd probably entertain those questions now if you have any questions about.
Larry,
Next year, we can answer it for you.
That's right.
The question I would have on the follow-up questionnaires that you had on the taste, can you give us a summary of some of the suggestions that may have been made in terms of next year?
The WSCC has done a good job, I think, for the last several years trying to solicit feedback from the community, and we developed pretty comprehensive surveys, and we had just slightly over 100 total responses. And in general, we get great feedback from the community as a whole that they really enjoy the Taste of Westmont. One of our first questions in the survey was asking about letting people know that we operated a $16,000 deficit over the past year. Where we're at right now with our account balances is $16,000 less than we were a year ago. And so we were letting people know that, we sort of took a hit even though we made dramatic changes in our budget. And so basically we need to figure out ways to boost our revenue. And so we asked the community what their thoughts were, and really the only thing that people really agreed on was to try to go out and get more sponsorships. But the idea of raising different beverage prices or selling wristbands, everything sort of met with a 50-50 response. So I'm sure the WSCC board will be making that decision. It'll be a tough one, but at some point they need to figure out how to boost those revenues to continue the event as you're used to it. I don't know, was there anything else in the survey that stood out as a area of improvement or anything like that? Theme, I think. Themes for
Well, I like the themes, yeah.
Right. The last few years we've kind of really focused on publicity, developing themes, and people generally support that. And I know that we're working hard on developing themes for next year, which I'm not at liberty to talk about right now because I don't think we're quite ready. We also had a Cruising Nights survey, which had over 100 responses. And And it's very similar to last year. People generally across the board like cruising nights. You had something like an 80% response of people saying, we like this event. And 70% of the people who answered that survey were residents. They weren't classic car owners. And so that was valuable information. And we'd be happy to create a summary and send it on to the board if you have not seen that already.
Thank you. Do you have anything?
Any other questions?
Any other questions from board members?
If not, I'd just like to make a quick closing remark. And I've been involved with the organization since it kind of was created. And, you know, there's lots of growth that has occurred over the years. And we're very lucky right now to have the group of people that we have on our board. I would say it's a group of seasoned veterans. They all are very capable, and so we're kind of in a position right now for the first time where we're actually getting a huge jump start on next year. Often after the taste is over, there's burnout and people are tired and they need to get back to their real lives for a while, and we really didn't take much downtime. We are already working very hard, and our sponsorship committee in particular is already in high gear for next year, and so we're expecting great and positive things. And so, thank you. And Mayor, did you want to?
There was a discount if food serving establishments signed up for next year. Just out of curiosity, how many have signed up already for next year?
I have my wife. Speak for that, Karen.
Hi, guys. I'm Karen. Mayor, we have 10 prepaid vendors for 2010. Our goal for 2010 is to get to the 19-20 range.
Okay.
I already have a lot of restaurants that are already interested in signing up for the early bird that I do in April. So I'm very confident that we'll have a great variety of food again.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Any other comments from board members?
Great job.
I would just like to begin by saying the Taste of Westmont is an activity that so many of us throughout the village look forward to every year. And we always have great weather for the Taste of Westmont, and this year was no exception. Things went very, very well. And I think we're all well aware of all the many countless hours all of you volunteers put into the Taste of Westmont and other cruising nights and other activities that occur throughout the year. But I think the Taste probably has more volunteers, and people really do look forward to coming forth and helping out wherever they can, because it's not like, in most situations, it's not like work. It's fun seeing everybody from the community, seeing your neighbors that you might not see during the year. It's a wonderful community event, and I'm very much looking forward to, and I'm sure all the board members are, to the Taste again next year. So we appreciate very much all, and I'm sure all the residents that are watching and that hear this will agree, they also appreciate all the efforts that all of you put into making the Taste so successful, and we appreciate all the businesses and the restaurants that come out and also support the Taste. And this year was an exceptional number of restaurants and food establishments that came out, and I think it's a challenge just to try to get a sample from each one of the restaurants that are serving food at the Taste. But my thanks to all of you, and along those same lines, I would like to give out appreciation awards to all of the board for the WSEC and all their efforts that they have, and it looks like they're going to continue to put forth again for 2010. So if I could, as I call your name, I'd like you to have you come forward, and for those, I'm sure not everyone is here, but for those that are, and we'll have Bob distribute the rest of them on behalf of people who are not here this evening. It's quite a stack. The award reads as follows: the Village of Westmont Volunteer Appreciation Award in recognition of excellent volunteerism and dedication to the community. And this first one is for Al Carson. I don't believe he's here this evening. is presented this Volunteer Appreciation Award from Mayor William Ron and the Westmont Village Board here in the village of Westmont, presented this 29th day of October 2009. So the first one is for Al Carson, and next, this young lady, Audra Bell, is here this evening.
And if everyone can just stay up here once you receive your award, we'll...
Congratulations. Thank you. Dave, a lot of it. Dave has been trying to stay a little bit more in the background, but he just can't seem to do that. And he comes forward all the time to help out wherever he can. So congratulations to you. Appreciate that. John Svitek, I don't. Oh yes, he is here. John, Mr. Westmont volunteer. Thank you, sir, for all your efforts. Joe Moff is here this evening. Joe. Congratulations. Robin Gardner. Linda Sabatka. Another great volunteer, not only for the village, but Holy Trinity Church and many other activities. Congratulations. You can stand over on this side. Karen Macker. Bob Macker. Mr. President. Thanks, Bob. Chris Gorman, I don't believe is here. Nancy Tannehill, not here. Zaremka. Thank you. And last but not least, Gary Bray. The only one I don't see up here is Larry McIntyre.
Yeah. Behind the camera.
All right, ready? I'm going to do one more for us. Ready? Thank you. Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving right along. Next item. Massage Establishment License Application. Board to consider approval of a massage establishment license application for Karma Salon and Spa, 15 North Cass. I'd like to start out, if I may, by asking our village manager to give us an update on massage establishment licensing. Is something that the board has looked at over a period of time and has made the decision to license these establishments. Some of the establishments that are now getting licenses have been in operation for a period of time, but we felt as a board that it was necessary to license them because obviously there could be the possibility of some problems in this particular area. With that being said, could I call upon you,
Sure.
Ron Searle?
Just to kind of give a little bit of background, originally, or several years ago, we had two categories of licenses. We had an establishment license, and we also had a massage therapist license. The state changed the law and took over the licensing of the individual massage therapists. We were able to continue, as many municipalities have, to license the establishments. And recently, we were reviewing that language, and as you know, the board updated that. We also created a set number of licenses now that we issue. We discovered that there were some establishments that had been operating that had therapists on staff that hadn't applied for the licenses. So rather than shut those down, we contacted them and had them apply and go through the process. And we mentioned this a few weeks ago. We had several of these that would be coming to the board. So these are not in addition to the 10 licenses that you created, but these are the ones, it's part of that group. And now they've gone through the background process and they're here for the actual issuance of the license. We have 4 of those this evening. And we have 1 more that will be coming to you at the next board meeting for consideration, and that will be the full number that of licenses that the board has created.
Okay. Did you want to, our legal counsel, add anything further before we?
That was well said. I've got nothing to add.
Okay. Thank you. Tom Mulhern, our police chief.
Mayor, I'll be brief as well. As Manager Searle said, there's 4 applications for tonight. The first one is Karma Salon, located at 15 North Cass Avenue. The building department, fire department, economic development, and police department have all done inspections and background checks. And there's nothing in our checks, inspections or background checks, that would deny the board from issuing this license. At this time, I'd like to introduce Tim, the owner of Karma Salon, for any questions, and he can explain his operation.
Thank you, Chief. Tim Giannakopoulos, owner, Karma Salon and Spa, 15 North Cass Avenue. Here asking for the license. What the massage license will do, it will help us by expanding our service menu, and what this will do is it will bring in new clients not only to Karma but also the town of Westmont, and we will continue to network with local businesses by offering spa packages with lunches available through Fleming's Absolutely Delicious and Dolce's, whatnot. So what we'll do is we'll have a spa menu, because the client, if they do a spa package, they might be doing services that will keep them there for 2, 3, 4 hours. So we will offer these lunches in our menu, so they'll be available, which will, again, help network and try to spread some business throughout the town. One thing really quick that came to my attention, the parking lot I thought was a 4-hour lot, but I believe it's a 2-hour lot. And I was just a recommendation that maybe we can expand those hours, since the street is a 2-hour lot. Maybe they can move it to a 4-hour time. I think it's hard. A lot of our services now do go up to about 2 hours, maybe a little longer. And it's just hard for a client to come in, get some services, and then maybe want to go to lunch or visit the local vendors and shop in town. So just a suggestion, maybe we can boost that time period up a little so that they're not getting ticketed, and, you know, again, maybe further, you know, we don't want to deter them from coming into town. Just a suggestion. Okay. So, and thank you for the opportunity.
We will take a look at that.
We're going to have on the next agenda some recommendations regarding some parking, and that particular issue actually coincides with the recommendation from the parking study. So this will be there'll be an issue for you to look at the next agenda that will cover that particular question.
Any questions from board members? Thank you. Next, massage establishment license application. Board to consider approval of a massage establishment license for Morgan Paris Salon at 700 Pasquinelli Drive.
Thank you, Mayor. Morgan Paris is also a beauty salon as well, offering massage services. One problem with their application was that one of their massage therapists has a problem with their state massage therapist license, and under our ordinance or requirements is unable to perform massages. She's working on fulfilling all requirements she needs to do with the state. Other than that, there's nothing from Morgan Paris in our background, fire department, building inspection, and zoning that would prevent them from issuing this license. The owner of Morgan Paris contacted us today and is unable to be here this evening due to a conflict in scheduling.
Tom, how are we going to monitor the licensing situation? for massage?
The fire department will do their annual inspections, and as well as now that we're getting more of these, we can have our detectives and our officers do spot checks, as well as we can do enforcement checks, similar to what we do with the liquor enforcement checks, to make sure that everyone is complying with the law.
Okay. Questions?
You said that their therapist is actually not licensed by the state right now?
She has a license, there's just some minor corrections she must do to correct it, and then she'll be, meet our requirements. She currently does not meet our requirements. She's working on that to get that fixed, and will be back to work soon. She's been notified that she cannot perform any massages in the village, because it's our requirements that she's not meeting right now.
How long were they doing business without a license that we found out finally that they were there? Do we know on these at all?
Morgan Paris is a little bit different. Morgan Paris did come in and apply for a license. However, in reviewing all our records, a background check was started, I know, several years ago. But when we did our review to see which businesses are licensed and which one were not, we discovered Morgan Paris did not receive a license, and we don't know why that process stopped. They never were given one. We don't know if it was they chose not to. We just don't know. However, everyone was fingerprinted, everyone through our background checks, and they are eligible today. I believe I could say for 3 years that we found, and it was until we recently had our officers go and do surveys of all throughout the villages, anyone where they felt may have been offering massage services. They identified that to the detective division, and the detectives went and did on-site visits with all the applicants that you're seeing today.
Okay, would it be, the next two, I know they're on here too, but I would ask the same question. How long have they been operating and doing this type of business until we actually went in and found out what they were doing?
I can get that answer for you Monday. I don't know. Tranquil Passage, and I believe Beauty Concepts, and the representative from Beauty Concepts are here. Trustee Flynn, they could probably answer the questions. I know the Tranquil Passage has been there for some years. It wasn't until a fire department went in and did an inspection, and when we did a staff review of all this, we learned that they were offering massage services, and that's when we went up there and spoke to them. So it was in conjunction with fire department inspections is where we learned some of the businesses and identified some of the businesses in town that would need these licenses. Everyone has worked and cooperated fully with us. One of the restrictions, as Manager Searle mentioned, was that in this meantime, they could continue to operate because we did not want to create an undue hardship on their business and their employees. We wanted to work with the businesses, and so they were required that they had to meet minimum requirements, which all of them did. One of those requirements was to complete fully with our investigation, and I'm pleased to say that all the applicants in front of you have done that.
And they've all paid the appropriate fees at this point in time?
That was done initially when the application was submitted. We would not begin any investigation or begin any work until that fee was paid and the application submitted.
On Morgan Paris, the discrepancy on the one, there's somebody else who's doing the
Yes.
massages? This
Yes.
person is not doing massages till the licenses,
So she has met our requirements, correct?
so right now they just have one massage therapist in there?
They have two. The one that has the problem with her state license is a part-time massage therapist. They have another one who offers is more their full-time massage therapist. It's a male.
But for now, that one, the one that doesn't have the license is not doing it until her license.
Not in Westmont, no. And she's working on correcting it, and we feel comfortable it should be corrected within the next month. That is, again, licensed by the state for the massage therapist, not the massage business license, is what's in front of you this evening.
Anything further?
No, sir.
We have 4 of these requests before us this evening. The third one is for a massage establishment license for Tranquil Passage LLC at 3912 North Cass.
The applicant has a conflict in schedule and apologizes that she could not be here. This application was submitted at the same time as, pretty much around the same time all 5 have been. Again, our fire department, building department, economic development, and police department background checks does not reveal any reason to deny them this business license. This applicant is one owner. Same owner will be doing all the services as well. No employees. She's the sole owner and only employee.
Questions? final request for a massage establishment licenses for Beauty Concepts at 6309 Fairview Avenue.
Yeah, Mayor, again, same as the other three, Fire Department, Building Department, Economic Development, and the Police Department conducted on-site inspections and background investigations. Again, found nothing to reveal or nothing that would prevent the board from issuing this license. And with me this evening is Mr. and Mrs. Patel, who are the owners of Beauty Concepts, who would like to answer any questions the board may have.
Hi, my name is Naina Patel, and I'm the owner of the Beauty Concept. We are in the business for last 16 years, and we provide the full service spa, and we are specialist in eyebrow shaping. And we do manicure, pedicure, facial, and body massage, and haircut, color, everything. So we found out about this license, and we applied. And my massage therapist does have the license, so we applied for full body massage.
Okay. Thank you. Questions? Board members?
You said you've been doing massage for 16 years at that location?
2 years.
2 years, okay.
We are in business for 16 years.
Any other questions?
There was a small article in your thing about a TJ Maxx incident that doesn't,
Sorry?
TJ Maxx incident in the report that doesn't.
No,
the
according to our
license.
detective saw no discrepancies that would prevent them from getting the license, no.
Okay, unless there are any further questions, thank you for coming in, Mr. and Mrs. Patel. Next item, West Burlington Avenue Water Main Improvements. Board to consider award of construction contract to Trine Construction Corporation for the West Burlington Water Main Improvement Project. We have Steve May, our Public Works Director.
Thank you, Mayor. The West Burlington Avenue Water Main Project consists of the complete replacement of the existing water main system on West Burlington for the entire, from Cass Avenue to the western boundary of the village. It's approximately 3,700 feet of water main, roughly speaking, nearly 3/4 of a mile. And it is the complete replacement of the water main, the fire hydrant, and moving all the services over to the new system too. Like all of our water main replacement programs in the old part of town, it's to replace old, fragile ductile iron pipe that we have frequent problems with. This project is funded with stimulus monies distributed through the Illinois EPA. The procedures are, there were a lot of procedures going, first they did this, then we have to do this, and a lot of going back and forth. And we are approved for the grant, but we are now required to award these contracts to the low bidder, to the lowest qualified bidder, which is the same in this case. And once we do that, it is subject to EPA approval of fund disbursement. And then they'll send the letter to the contractor saying that it's, that it's approved, and we'll do the contract exchange. So you're pretty much authorizing staff to enter into the agreement once everything is in place with the loan. The low bidder, on October 14th, we opened bids for this project. There were 13 bidders, and the low bidder was Trine Construction Corp. in the amount of $1,319,322.72, relative to an engineer's estimate of $1,800,000. So staff is recommending, the consulting engineer is recommending our award of this contract to Trine Construction.
Question.
Subject EPA approval.
Questions?
Just as you go through this, Steve, could you mention also if they've done business with the village before? Like in all that, I know there's a couple more things coming up.
You know, I know they're a very reputable contractor, and I recognize the firm. I can't tell you what was the last thing they did in town, well, for the village, if any. I could still find that out by Monday, but they were certainly qualified to do, the work.
Talking about Trine, right? Trine?
Trine.
Yeah, I remember them.
I recognize the name. We've had two contractors that have got the bulk of the work in the last several years, so I can't think of how far back that might have occurred.
Just curious.
A while ago.
Steve, what is the schedule for the project to begin, hopefully?
Hopefully this is, because it's underground work, we should be able to do much of it through the winter. A good portion of it is going to end up under the pavement on Burlington Avenue, so there's going to be a lot of coordination with that. If it starts getting too cold and we won't be able to patch the trenches behind ourselves, it will dictate how far we get in the winter, but it could start this fall already. Subject to your approval on Monday, there will still be, I'll just guess, maybe 30 days of contract signing and coordination going back and forth, and then we will have a pre-construction meeting and be able to identify the schedule by December.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions on this item?
Yes, on the amount that's on here, is this 100% funded by the stimulus, or do we have to match some of it?
There is no match. They term it as a loan. They supply 100% of the funding to pay for the project up front. There is, I forget the percentage, I can verify by Monday, but I believe there's like 25% forgiveness that we don't owe any of that back. So that is the equivalent to an awarded grant, and the balance of it is given to us at a 0% interest over a term, I believe, of like 20 years. So it is all good parameters all the way around, and that's, which is why there were so many qualifying steps to get to that point. I'll get you details before.
Okay, and we're going to be disturbing some stuff, but is it mostly under the sidewalk? We're not going to be running into any soil problems like we've had on...
Well, the soil problems were unanticipated. We know of no underground obstacles now. The Burlington Avenue water main will not be under the sidewalk. Much of it will be in the pavement and in the parkway. The next project, Lincoln Street, will have a sidewalk alignment.
Okay, but we don't anticipate having soil problems?
No, but I have to say we didn't, that's what that...
Is there
we didn't anticipate it on Black Hawk Drive.
Right, but is
either.
there some kind of a contingent or an idea budget-wise, from the start of this amount, if we run into a problem like we did before? Or are we going to be running around trying to figure out how to fund the rest of the money if it's going to cost us more to remove the soil?
Thankfully, the administering agency is different than the one on Black Hawk Drive, and all things are typically simpler with the EPA than they were the process we had to go through for Black Hawk Drive. So it would, if you had something that was unanticipated, you negotiate the price and you, negotiate, the addition in the contract, and it would. Black Hawk Drive was very unnecessarily complicated, in my opinion.
I don't want any surprises.
Always, right?
Thank you.
Other questions? Don't get too anxious to leave the podium.
I got a few here.
Next one, water main for North Lincoln Street.
The explanation is exactly the same, but for a different location, North Lincoln Street. The water main will be replaced between Burlington Avenue and Naperville Road. That is about 2,200 lineal feet of water main. The bids were open on the same date. There were 12 bidders for that project, and the low bidder was Neary Construction of Addison. The amount of that bid was $416,471.55 relative to the engineer's estimate of nearly $668,000. The rest of the explanation is the same with the EPA stimulus funds.
So it'll be entirely under the sidewalks on...
This one is, yes.
The east or the west side?
Don't recall. It is the opposite side of what it is on now, so I'm trying to picture where the fire hydrants are on that block.
They're on the west side.
So the new construction will be on the other side of the street.
Okay.
Much of it is directional boring on that project too, so that is, minimize disturbance on the block too. So it's good.
Questions on this item? Next item, maintenance service agreement. Board to consider approval of a maintenance service agreement for water distribution system valve assessment program.
This is a general maintenance item that applies to the entire water distribution system. Within the water main grid network, besides items such as fire hydrants and other appurtenances to the water main, we have nearly 1,000 water shutoff valves throughout the entire system. The valves are important when you are in a situation either for an emergency or for a planned shutdown, that you can minimize the amount of disturbed properties that you're eliminating service to while you're doing this work. The valves have to be exercised. They don't have to be. It's very good practice to exercise them to maintain their usefulness. If you let them sit for tens of years and then need to go operate them, they often, will be stuck and then are of no use. We exercise our valves on a 3-year rotation. We used to do 100% of the system every 3 years. This year, for budget considerations, we cut the project in half. We're doing half the town this year, half the town next year. So this contract is for half of the system, approximately 500 of the shutoff valves, and with the contractor that does the bulk of the maintenance for our water distribution system already.
Will they be doing this during the winter?
They can be. They it's all outside work. They would rather not, so we're eager to get this awarded so that they can start before when there's snow on the ground. It's more difficult because then you have to go locate them. Besides exercising the valves, the other part of this project is that they locate them all, make sure they're uncovered, paint and mark them, mark the curb where they're at. So it is our renewing our locating. So we want to do that before it snows. They should be able to do it, before Thanksgiving if we can award this quickly.
Question?
And is this budgeted?
It is.
Okay, thank you.
Anything further? And your final item for this evening, Design Engineering Service Agreement. Board to consider approval of a Design Engineering Service Agreement for ground storage tanks recoating.
Mayor, we call it design engineering just to be for consistent terminology between whether it's preliminary engineering services. Design engineering is pretty much putting together the contract specifications and plans if required. And then there would be contract supervision, or sometimes it's called phase 3 engineering, would be other, when you actually get into a construction project. This project was described at a Public Works Committee meeting. The 2 ground storage tanks over at the water plant located on Burlington Avenue are scheduled for recoating. There's a lot of reference, to simply put it, you'll see a lot, it would be called repainting, but it is a special coating. It is both inside and outside, so it requires that the tanks be drained, a professional application on the inside of the tank, and then thorough testing that goes with that before it's put back in service. We have both tanks are scheduled to be done. We have intentionally set this up, not the design portion, but the construction will be done so that only one tank is taken out of service at a time, and that'll be done before the end of this budget year, followed up with the second tank into the next budget year. And we also don't want to do it in a high demand period of the year, so we wouldn't be doing it in the middle of the summer either, because the storage that those tanks provide are important to our daily usage. So this is to put together the contract for both. We call design engineering. It also includes the construction supervision, and there's a subcontract that our engineering vendor is using that is responsible for all the construction testing that will go with the project. But this is not the work itself. This is to put the contracts together with Baxter and Woodman.
Questions?
How long will the tank be down? What was their guesstimation time that it'd be down?
Like 3 weeks to a month. That would, from beginning to end, everything going smoothly, which it should. They're relatively new tanks.
Does the tank have to be shut down even when you're doing the outside surf?
You do, because of there's a condensation characteristic that happens when there's different levels of water in the tank. So you can actually see what the level of the water in the tank is sometimes by how the different parts sweat in the different temperatures outside.
Anything else?
I think, I don't know if they're going to spray, but I'm presuming that there'll be good one time when they were spraying the tank over by 55th Street years ago. They did it on a windy day when they sprayed, and the paint particles flew off on neighbors' homes. So I
Yeah.
don't think we have too much trouble where they're located, but
Well, we don't, and that was done some time ago. There's much better procedures now for hanging drapes around the outside to, minimize that as well.
good. Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Steve.
I'm going to talk some more. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Pardon me?
Talk some more on the next item, too, if I can.
Oh, okay. Why? I thought perhaps the manager was going to give you a break and handle that one for you. Document shredding event. Board to consider approving a document shredding event for Westmont residents Saturday, November 14th, 9 to 12 noon in front of Village Hall.
Just by way of introduction, there's an explanation in the packet. We were approached by Mr. Todd Barrell, DocuShred, which is a company that we use for shredding services in some of our departments. He offered to do a free shredding event of documents for Westmont residents. And I guess he met with Steve and Kathy and Casey, and they selected a date coming up here pretty soon, November 14th. And the suggestion was to do something out front here. I initially thought they were going to actually close the commuter lot, but I understand that this won't affect the actual lot itself. And we do have
that is what we wanted to describe.
Mr. Barrell is here,
Yes.
I believe, this evening, so if the board has any questions. And then, Steve, you're going to talk a little bit about the setup?
Yes, if I can. I did prepared a crude diagram, but I left a copy of it with you for your review. With Mr. Burrell's recommendation, tying the event to the Village Hall and having it right across the street, we're going to use the angle parking on the right across the street from the Village Hall and set up and let the traffic pull off the street. And this will be done on a Saturday, but in fact, this aerial photograph is taken on a Saturday, and you can see there's still some use with the commuter parking. There were a couple of options of what we could have done in the parking lot, but Mr. Barrell's experience is, he's done these events before, and you could know the kind of rate and what to expect and how fast to do turnover. So this is the Village Hall, and the idea is to set up the shredding is actually done in the vehicle itself, so to park down here, and then as people approach from Cass Avenue or Lincoln Street, they can, exit off the street. We'll just use this, that's not the commuter parking lot, that would just be the general parking area across from the Village Hall. And they can queue up in this area, unload their materials to be shredded. It is a residential household shredding event. It is not for commercial or business purposes. It's a service specifically for the residents. It's maybe you'd like to come up and, speak to it. It's on the eyes of, identity theft awareness and people who save their documents or don't have their own shredding abilities. Maybe it would be a good time to describe the service.
Good evening, Mayor and Board. My name is Todd Burrell, partial owner of DocuShred. My mother is the primary owner, so we are a female-owned and certified company with the state of Illinois. We have done shred events for banks and villages for the last 4 or 5 years. And I like to offer this shred event to the Village of Westmont at no charge so I could give back to the community. So what we talked about in our meeting is if residences had 2 boxes or right around 2 boxes, they pull up right by our truck, we empty out the boxes, and then we shred it right there in front of them. If they care to actually witness it, they can actually witness it, but they'd have to park their car because if there's a line of cars, then they're just going to hold up everybody else. But usually, we just dump it and shred it right away, usually. And the pieces of shredded material is about the size of a thumbnail, basically, and it gets mixed with 10,000 pounds before we take it to the recycler.
It's a very interesting process. That witnessing just doesn't mean watching them dump it into the truck. There's actually a video that you can watch it being destroyed inside the truck, while you're there. And not as part of this event, but for the commercial purposes, they'll even certify its destruction if that was, needed that's the paid service.
Is there anything that should be in the notice as to what not to put in there? Binder clips, rubber bands, spiral bindings, anything like that?
The only thing that we ask for people not to put in there is plastics, and that's because of the recycling end of it. It's not that we can't shred it, it's just that if the recycler sees that there's too many plastics in there, it's considered contaminated, and they would have to landfill it. And then we're charged $150, $200 a ton to dispose of that.
What happens when the word contaminated is attached to anything? It's a big headache.
Plastics is fine. Metals plastics, we avoid plastics. Metals are no problem.
Oh, really?
The black binder clips, staples, paper clips, all that, metals are no problem.
Amazing, yeah.
And that all goes to recycling with the metal mixed in
Yes.
with it?
Yes.
They can extract the metal at the recycler, can get the metal out of it.
Through magnetic process, and then the pulp mill removes all the aluminum once it floats.
Oh, that's wonderful.
I think it's very nice that you're offering this.
Just out of curiosity, what town do you live in, Mr. Burrows?
I live in Westmont.
Thank you, that's what I thought. Another resident coming forth to volunteer to provide service for the village.
Yes.
We appreciate that
Now,
very
you
much.
say 2 boxes, but you call them banker box sizes. Approximately what size box are you referring to?
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
You can pick it up.
Yes.
Wow.
2 containers that you can lift.
And we ask that
Sorry.
we ask that this be for residences because they're the ones that get their identity stolen. You hear about residences, you want to help out the residences. Businesses, they can expense this type of service. So that's why we ask for residences. Because if somebody with a business comes by with 10, 20 boxes and try and shred all that, you're taken away from the residences.
Very good. Any questions, further questions? No. Thank you.
The date again for the residents? Give the date again.
November 14th.
At between what time?
9 at noon.
9 o'clock and noon.
Okay, just want the residents to hear it. Thank you.
Is there any other way to get the word out to the residents, other than, like,
I believe it's already on cable.
Yeah, Larry McIntyre's working.
It's already up there.
already been
It's in the progress.
Yeah.
Okay.
But for the people who don't have cable, it'd be certainly nice to try to figure something out, but I don't know if we can get it out in time.
Is it in the progress?
Yeah, I think it is.
Okay, I didn't
For
see.
next week.
Okay. Thank you.
And one more thing, during this event, it might not, it'd probably be a good idea if the police department has any literature on identity theft, on what procedures to take, whether to file a police report and so on.
Our police chief might have a comment to make on that subject.
Why would we shred that stuff?
I got a hint this was coming up, so. At our police department, any resident or anyone can stop in. We have a packet. It's an identity theft resource guide presented by the Lisa Madigan, Illinois Attorney General's office. You can come in the police department and ask for this for information on identity theft. It's at the front desk, and I left copies in the back of the chamber council here for anyone either tonight or in the future that would be interested in having some.
And maybe have some by the truck, he can hand them out as they're dumping.
We could look at it. It's rather.
Lengthy.
Yeah. But we could, I would just say we have information, if anybody wants information on identity theft, they can contact the police department. We can either arrange mailing it or they can just stop in and we can pick it up.
Could we get that on our website?
The document?
Yeah.
I'd have to look to see if it's copyrighted. I don't believe it is. They get the information out. Yeah, it's, I don't know how we can we'll look into it.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Next item, transfer of real estate. Board to consider ordinances regarding Lot 28 Black Hawk Drive. A, authorizing the transfer of Lot 28 to the Park District. B, authorizing the plat of easement for Lot 28. And C, authorizing the assignment of the lease for Lot 28 to the Westmont Park District.
Mayor, if I may.
Okay.
As you see from your write-up, the village owns what is known as Lot 28 Black Hawk Drive, which is kind of near the S-curve of Black Hawk Drive, near the high school and south of the golf course. We've owned this, the village has owned this for some time. I think in exchange for some easements and land that was provided by the Butler Estate to extend Black Hawk Drive back in the 80s, I believe it was. In return, the village entered into a long-term lease with the Butler Estate so that they could store materials and vehicles related to their adjacent golf course operations. In 1996, the Park District requested that the village transfer ownership of Lot 28 to the Park District because they owned the adjacent Black Hawk Park, could use the property for parking and other park-related purposes. The village at that time agreed to do so and passed a resolution authorizing the transfer of this real estate to the Park District. I guess it was determined that it wasn't necessary or useful for the village to maintain ownership. Unfortunately, a deed was never prepared and recorded to consummate that transfer. So it's been brought up again, hey, can we finalize this? So that's what this board action request seeks to do. Seeks to authorize the transfer for no fee to the Park District, seeks to assign the existing long-term lease with the Butler Estate, which is now actually held by LaSalle Bank as trustee, transfer that lease to the Park District, and also asking your approval of a plat of easement. Since the village will no longer own the property, there are utilities and water mains on this property, and the village will need a right to access it to maintain those utilities and for stormwater drainage purposes. These documents have all been reviewed by the Park District and their attorney and are acceptable. Attached to your ordinances, you'll see the actual assignment of lease and also a revised quitclaim deed.
Questions? No questions? Next item, ambulance fee increase. Board to consider an increase in resident and non-resident ambulance fees.
Good evening, Mayor, Board. We're before you tonight with proposed fees for ambulance service, along with other related charges and fees. It's been about a year since we've been before you. Each year we try to look at what other towns are charging so that we can have an average. And we go with the local towns such as Clarendon Hills, Darien Woodridge Fire District, Tri-State Fire District, and the Downers Grove. Tri-State Fire District takes in the areas of Willowbrook and parts of Darien, along with Burr Ridge. Darien Woodridge, as the name states, the villages of Darien and Woodridge, portions of those. We did this study, and we try to bring it for you before this board each year so that we can keep up with the cost. As you know, part of our cost is borne by the people who utilize the service rather than every taxpayer in town. We're able to keep our costs down for everyone by doing that and just basically go with a user pay. The information which has been given to you tonight is the updated version of that. Director Drowley, who was supposed to make the presentation tonight, was called out on an ambulance call. And so Deputy Chief Weiss and I will do our best to answer your questions. Dave?
Thanks, Chief. What you have before you is estimated increases that were recommended to the board to consider in our ambulance fees and our mileage charges that we charge. There's two new things that are listed on those fee structures this year that we're recommending to you, and that's a response charge for residents and non-residents for treat and non-transport. We get several calls during the year where we'll go and treat patients and their signed refusals to not be transported to the hospital. So then we end up having charges for supplies and equipment that we use where we never bill for this. Insurance companies do cover this fee. So we've added that to our recommended changes and increases for ambulance fees. And as you also know, we do a lot of car seat installations. And we're recommending a car seat installation fee of $20 for non-residents and no charge for our residents. We get about 150 car seat installations a year. Westmont is the only village in the area that does this at this time. Downers used to do it, they no longer do it. Everybody around us comes to Westmont.
You have to be certified, right?
You have to be certified. Lynn Drolly and Kathy Meyer are the two employees that are certified for the fire department. And they have to go through a 1-week recertification every year, and then they have to donate on their own time at another installation place 8 hours of time of installing seats. And that's part of getting recertified. So all the towns around, the police departments and fire departments know that Westmont does this, so they send everybody to us. Last year we did 57 car seat installations of non-residents. So it takes about a half an hour of their time to install these car seats. So we're also recommending that in our proposed changes that we charge non-residents for car installation seats $20. On the front sheet that you have there is what we charge currently for BOS and ALS for resident, non-residents, and also for mileage. The average is in the next column, and that average is taken from the second page comparisons from Clarendon Hills, Darien Woodridge, Tri-State, and Downers Grove. And as you can see, we're only recommending that we go to the average. We're not recommending to go to the highest that is listed on those pages. And with those increases going to the averages, we used the 2008 ambulance calls. And on the bottom of the front page, it shows what we billed out in 2008 for existing rates for residents and non-residents for BOS and ALS, what we billed out for mileage, and then if the proposed fee changes that we're recommending tonight will go into effect based on the 2008 calls, then that shows in those columns what we would charge for 2008 calls. And then on the far right side is the increase of revenue that we would project to receive based on doing these increases. Now, that total, and we didn't put down there, but it totals up to about $325,000. And right now, we're collecting somewhere between 60 and 65% on our ambulance fees. So we're projecting, with the passage of these increases and these additions, that we'll bring in an additional $190,000 to $200,000 in revenue to offset our charges and fees that currently are available for us to collect. I entertain any questions anybody may have.
Just for the people that are watching at home, would you explain the difference between basic and advanced, because you're using jargon, BLS and ALS?
Okay. BOS is basic life support care, where we don't use EKG or start IVs or give medications or drugs. ALS is advanced life support care, and that's where we're hooking you up to a monitor and we do IVs and we're administer medications.
Thank you.
Dave, or Chief, when you look at the comparisons, Downers Grove is just not even close to Westmont, Clarendon Hills, and Darien Woodridge. Is there any reason, is that the size have something to do with it, or is it funded through another method? Just out of curiosity, do you
Downers
know?
Grove right now is going through the process of doing its own evaluation. They're checking with our numbers in other area towns, and they're starting to step in line with everyone else. And so there will be an increase, and they will start programs such as we have already existing.
That's one thing I forgot to mention. Downers Grove came to Lynn and I about 2 weeks ago, wanting to collect what we collected in comparisons because they knew we did this. Hinsdale also contacted us today. Hinsdale's in the process of doing a comparison and increasing their fees.
Dave, you have the amount billed out, and I believe you said you collected around 65% of the amount billed out. Do you have a breakdown on how much of that 65% was paid by insurance or Medicare versus residents out of pocket?
We can get that for you and have it available for you on Monday night. I would have to go to finance. I believe they keep that.
I would like that breakdown, and I will tell you, I know this has been an ongoing issue, and it preceded me a long time before I joined the board. But on my ambulatory excursions with the volunteer canine unit, I talked to a lot of people. There are a fair number of elderly people on fixed incomes in Westmont. And we also have a new beast that the IRS recognizes known as a HDHP, which is a high deductible health plan. My own and several of my neighbors is now our deductibles at $10,000. My 93-year-old neighbor drove himself to the hospital, and his driving skills are questionable as it is, but rather than get charged for an ambulance visit, he drove himself to the hospital. I think it's happening more and more. I will tell you my feelings on the subject. I understand the increases, and I certainly understand paying for equipment, supplies used. I think our paramedics and our fire personnel do an excellent job for the residents here, but I don't want the residents to be scared from getting the appropriate treatment. If you are collecting 65% and approximately 55 to 60% is Medicare and or private insurance, I would like to see you waive the residents' portion, because I would not want to see on the duty belt of the police officers a credit card scanner. You get called and the next thing they're swiping to charge you for the call. I think that Westmont ought to pride itself that despite what all these other towns do and, Yahoo, that we protect our residents by what is not paid by insurance or Medicare. They shouldn't be afraid to call an ambulance.
And we echo what you're saying. And matter of fact, we have, every time we come before the board and we bring this information to you, we want to make sure that we get the information out to our residents so everyone understands that we, on the fire department, get information on individuals that can't pay their bills. And we look at those. I will make personal contact with them, and we take care of our own. We take care of the people who need to be taken care of in Westmont. If you're indigent, we are there to help you. And we want to make sure that that word gets out. This is, it's part of our job and our responsibility to give you this information each year so that you can make good decisions. And we look at it as, it's in the best interest of the whole town. If people are already paying for their insurance, and this is already part of the plan and program, then they're letting their insurance dollars take care of them.
Right.
And if that's the case, everyone benefits by it. So just as long as everyone understands that, especially our citizens. And I think for the most part, a lot of them understand that. They see that when I'm on the phone with them, talking to them, whether they're from Mays Lake or apartments or single-family homes in town. I made sure that they understand that. And when Lynn Drowley goes out and she does senior, we're heavily involved with the senior program in town. that everyone knows that if someone is indigent, unable to pay the bill in whatever way, as long as it's legit, we're there for them.
Well, the other thing is that, well, two things. One, there are a lot of people who don't want to have to step forward and say, I'm indigent. So out of pride, they're certainly not going to ask you to waive it, and they are going to bite the bullet and sacrifice for other things or not call the ambulance. So I don't like either one of those. So I don't, like I say, I think it gets waived, period. And the other thing is, I understand from talking to members of the board and such that there have been these incidents, and one of the reasons that the citizens should understand the charges is because of abuses. If you get a call and you have somebody standing at the front door with their purse and saying, I don't want to pay for a cab, I want an ambulance to take me to Good Sam because my doctor appointment is right there, they need to understand two things. One, that's a fraudulent 911 call. And two, it's theft of services. So you can nip that in the bud real quick. You don't have to play that game, and you certainly don't have to transport somebody like that.
Well, when we get a 911 call, 911 call, and we are bound by duty and obligation, legal obligation to respond, the person wants to go to the hospital, unless that person then signs a waiver once we get there. That person gets transported to the hospital.
Right, but if somebody tells you ahead of time why they're calling, you certainly don't have to transport them when they tell you. When they tell the paramedics flat out, I want to go to the hospital because I have a doctor's appointment right next door.
That generally isn't the case. They'll say, I feel faint or something else, and then they'll get transported to the hospital. They're not usually, if they're there to use us as a taxi cab, and that, I'm not saying that does not happen, because it certainly does, but they do say to us, I feel faint, I feel dizzy, we have to transport them.
I understand that.
They're not going to be, if they're willing to go that far, they're not going to tell the truth once that we get there.
What is our basic, let's get it down to bare bones, basic cost on a yearly basis for the service that we provide?
You talking about individual call?
No, just
average?
Yeah, I mean, basic cost. Let's just take it right down to a line that everybody can understand. I kind of have to echo what Trustee Emery is saying here, because, and I understand that you have to charge for services, and I appreciate that, but there comes a time when you kind of have to, as we've used in the past, draw a line in the sand. Maybe we need to be progressive, and we need to step out in front of these other villages and say, hey, this is what we're looking to do to take care of our residents. But if you're a non-resident, I can understand that, I can appreciate that. But I think our residents deserve better than this, honestly. I really do. And I understand you talking to them on the phone and even just that, but I don't think we should have to even go to that point to talk to these people. And I mean, even with, as health cost wise, my deductible now is like $5,000. So I'm going to think real hard before I call, honestly, because out of pocket, people just can't afford that.
Well, Trustee, to try and answer your question, half of our, what we do at the fire department, probably more than what we do at the fire department, is EMS, Emergency Medical Services. Our budget is a little over $4 million a year. So $2 million and change.
Well, I think, Lee, aren't you asking, like, the equipment is paid for, because we've certainly done the replacement program and all that. The personnel are paid for with the payroll, isn't that budgeted? The actual cost, I'd kind of like to see what's above and beyond what's already budgeted and paid for.
I would say that what you're looking about above that would be your fuel cost, your replacement of product on the ambulance. You know,
So are you asking what our costs is versus what we're taking in and actually receiving?
Right.
Some kind of comparison?
right.
Okay.
I mean, what kind of a percentage are we looking at here? And I mean, the other side of it is too, and I understand you're only collecting 65% of the amount, which soon, if you calculate it out, you're foregoing $145,000 a year that's going, and I'm sure you turn that over to the collection agency and see what you can collect and what you can't. The only thing is with your insurance companies, a lot of time they have a fixed rate of what they're going to pay,
That's right.
which could be anywhere from 60 to 80%, depending on the program or the plan. So then you have to take that 65% that you're dealing with now, drop that down a little bit more, because then the employee or the resident is going to have an out-of-pocket expense to make up the difference between their insurance and what the charge was. So by saying we're increasing this $365,000 and bottom line increase is going to be $200,000, let's say, I don't think that $200,000 increase, I don't think it'd prove out in the math. I mean, that's where I'm standing with this right now. Times are hard enough, and I understand you have to pay for your services, and I appreciate that. But, I mean, we have left our tax levy just static. We haven't raised our tax levy in this village in, I think, 3 years. We haven't touched it. We haven't done anything. And non-residents, I understand there's more cost incurred there, and I can appreciate that, but our residents don't. No.
Just in rough numbers, we're about 800,000 short.
Okay.
Based on build out. That's not what we actually collect though, right? This column is just build out.
Mm-hmm.
So we actually could reduce that by 40-some%. So it's even more than that.
We're collecting out of the 800, probably about 450 to 480,000. And right now, I think this year, our paramedic contract is around 850,000.
So that's just EMS, not fire services too.
Correct.
Okay, but what you're saying though is when you're collecting is, if you got your 65%, is the remainder, you could still be having your collection agency calling these people, trying to get the money out of them. You're not saying you've waived the 40%. They're still trying to suck the money out of our residents. Is what it's,
We write off 21%, almost $145,000 in a fiscal year. We write it off. We do.
It only goes so far with a collection agency.
That's right. We write that amount off. Gone.
Well, I mentioned at the committee meeting, I don't believe in charging the residents. I can see raising the price if it looks like the insurance companies will pay more to try to get every penny you can out of that insurance. But after that, I don't believe in charging any resident, leaving the option up to whether it's a chief, and I like the chief, but leaving it up to a personal decision, asking them to come in and try to figure out, well, can this person really afford it? Can they not afford it? It gets too involved. It puts too much personal, for the chief to get into too much personal life. The other thing I'm looking at when you mentioned how high your deductible is, I don't know what mine is. I've never looked, except when I bought the policy a couple years ago. I do know we paid the highest we can now to keep the lowest deductible. Now, the problem is I'm paying this, and I'm paying probably more than some other people to hold my insurance policy, and to think that because I've saved, I didn't go on vacations, I put money in the bank, to think that I may be charged where somebody who's taken the lease policy to the more deductible because maybe they can't afford it or they don't believe in it, they may get waived and I wouldn't get waived. There's no balance, I don't see where you can, without getting personal, checking into somebody's finance records, really digging in, I don't see where you can be fair to all the residents on an actual basis. And I do know someone who had a first call waived and got called in again, and the person did not want to go, but the medical center said, we need to call the ambulance. And that person is trying to figure out where they're coming up with the money because you waived it once. And they're figuring, oh, I can't ask for it to be waived again. So, you know, we gotta think of our residents.
The only way, and I understand exactly what you're talking about, because we deal with it every day. We're out there every day with people. And so we see it on a very personal level. And we bring this information to you. We're neutral. Right? We bring this information to you. This isn't a Frank Trout, Lynn Drolly, Dave Weiss demanding more money. We're bringing this information to you, letting you know where your neighboring towns, what they're doing, what the Village of Westmont, where we're at with our funds, and we just bring this information and make the best educated proposal to you so that you can then make a good decision down the road. I guess if you want to be totally fair so no one falls through the cracks, is that you do it free. That way, and just tell everybody they have a free ride. Now, is that free? Is that fair then for all the taxpayers in town? Because we've always had a portion of the ambulance bill that was taken care of by users. When you use the ambulance, you help subsidize the ambulance. You help pay for the ambulance. And so that's how it's historically been. Each year, costs go up. We bring that before you. You make a determination on it, and then we go from there.
Frank, can I ask a question? All the departments that you have on your survey, they're all full-time? Or are they a mixture of full-time and part-time like we are?
Clarendon Hills has a smaller staff than we do. Of course, it's a third the town we are. But they run it similar to Westmont. The other ones they're full-time with possibly some part-time people involved.
Now, is Clarendon Hills a contract, though? Contract service?
No, they do that all in-house. So they do it with just part-time personnel.
And I guess the reason I ask is because we have what we claim a part-time department that enough people to cover it full-time. That saves us about $2 million a year. What would our fees be if we had a full-time department that we had to pay unions like everybody else? Where the question comes in is how does Downers Grove do it for that fee, and they have that issue.
Well, in a sense, though, we have full-time EMS service through our contract. The part-time is really more on the fire side, would you say, Chief?
The $2 million plus a year that we save all the residents in town.
Is the fire side?
While we save that money, it's basically all in the general fund. I mean, we just don't designate that toward the fire department. But we, from what we've looked at, we save the village approximately $2 million a year in personnel costs.
But that personnel, if you were to pay for that, would be full-time firefighters.
Yes, that'd be for full-time people.
And if you had that, would you continue to have a paramedic contract? Or would you only have full-time paramedic firefighters?
There are full, that would be a decision that the village board would have to make. We would have to look at the cost. The Oakwood Fire Department is completely full-time career firefighters, but they do also have contract paramedics.
No, I understand that, but when we say that we're saving $2 million, is that anticipating that $2 million would cover full-time firefighter paramedics?
Yes.
We wouldn't have a separate contract, wouldn't have that separate expense?
That's correct.
Frank, I understand what you're saying about the burden on everybody else, but I would like to see Westmont step to the fore. I don't know if we can afford to do it. I got to think on this over the weekend. But, you know, there are people that go their whole lives and never have to dial 911 for the police. But they're there if they need them. They don't have to dial 911 for a fire their whole life, but they're there if they need them. So I think saying that the ambulance service, which I equate in the same way as everything else you guys do and everything else the police department does, to say that, you know, it's a burden on the entire taxpayers, it is, but it's also a benefit for everybody. It's there if you need it. So I got to think on this over the weekend and look at some numbers as to whether we can afford it. But, you know, if I had my druthers, we wouldn't charge. But I don't know that we can afford that, certainly. And got to think on it.
Like I said before, though, we bring this information to you, and then we will give you as much information. We'll support you with even more information over the next few days so that you can make a good, intelligent decision. I'm a taxpayer in the village of Westmont myself. And if we're not getting it from insurance companies, are we going to then cut services, or are we going to raise taxes?
Well, I think, you know, like I said, if you can, you know, Medicare pays a certain fee, insurance companies do, and when you respond to a fire call, do people's homeowners insurance pay for firefighting?
Actually, we're looking at more ways of getting into reducing costs in the firefighting end of it, just like we do right now with spiller pays through the hazmat. If someone has a hazmat incident, even if someone's gas tank on their car breaks and it runs down the street, we generate a number on it to recoup it from the insurance company for spiller pays. And there are ways in which we might be able to do that through insurance companies for some firefighting.
Yeah, well, like I say, I can see recouping what we can and then waiving the rest so that our
So it's
residents
just like
don't have to worry
education.
about it.
There are things we're looking into right now. There are towns that charge, if you go to a car accident and you have to pry open the doors, you then charge the people or the insurance company more money for extrication. There's a whole list of things that I know that Dave Weiss has put together along with Lynn Drolly. We've looked at these things before, and you know, they're all in the process of being developed.
John,
And we know that the insurance companies are willing to pay that on their policies.
I tried, I called my insurance company on that, and they had my agent never heard of it, and it took days to get back from their office. And it was the weirdest thing, and it didn't make sense to her. She didn't know if they misunderstood, but she said, oh, they would pay $500 to come to your house and put out a fire. Now, you know, the moment that they were discussing it, they're talking over $1,500 just to bring one engine out. You know, and I said, well, what are they going to charge for a car fire?
No, I'm not talking car
They didn't
fire.
talk it.
I'm talking automobile insurance.
This is auto.
It would have to go against your auto policy
Right,
to
but
be
I have auto
extracted.
and home with them, and I asked them to figure both. Because I figured if they're gonna start charging to put out a car fire, they're gonna start charging to come to my house and put out a fire. So I asked both ways, and they said the only fee that they came up with was $500 to come to the house and put out your house fire they would pay, which you know it's gonna cost a lot more than $500. And she didn't even know, they just said, yeah, that would pay to put out your car fire. But she said they didn't give her a price even on that. So if they're only doing $500 for a house fire, I was gonna try to talk and see if I couldn't find a broker or somebody who has ways of checking around to see. But they had not heard of it. It took them several days to get back to me even on that.
Well, I have a very good insurance company, and I'm going to be making some phone calls tomorrow and see what they have to say, honestly,
John,
about
what's
this. And they're one of the largest in the country, and it's called USAA. And if anybody's stepping out in the forefront, they are. So if they've got something on the books, then they're going to have it right at hand.
John, what's up on Monday? Is it just the increase in ambulance services for vote, or is it the also for the special services increase? Do you know?
Well, you know, at this point, it was presented for discussion only. And you've got this chart here, which shows all the proposed increases that the board can consider. So if, you know, it's up to you how you want to proceed. You can put it up on a vote for these fee increases. You can table it for further discussion.
Well, I'd like to split the request for the ambulance increase from the request for charging extra for the special services, because I too put out calls, and when we talked about this in committee, the last thing I want to do is the Village of Westmont send out a bill to somebody that arrives the same day as the funeral parlor's bill.
When you say special,
I might add something is that when we know that there's someone who had passed away after we were there, no bill goes to them. If we're aware of that, and we generally keep real close eye on that, if we take someone to transport them to Good Sam and they later pass, there is no bill generated.
So any of this, so I understand this because we talked about this at committee. Any of the special teams, whether it's the dive team because a kid fell in the water, or it's using Jaws of Life, anything like that.
That's not part of this. We're only talking about EMS.
Ambulance increase.
ALS, BLS, and then the one thing that kind of falls outside of that is the child seat installation.
Okay.
But those other things, you're right, we talked about that at the committee level, that's not part of this presentation.
Okay, so it's not, all right, so okay.
Actually, we decided that we wouldn't visit that until January.
Okay.
At our next.
So with the insurance companies, if they're going to start covering it, or more departments start hitting them up to cover it, all they're going to do is start raising their rates anyhow, so we're all going to pay one way or another.
Exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah. In the long run, everybody pays.
You're going to end up paying.
The other thing we're looking at too in Division 10, which is our mutual aid group, is when we go mutual aid to other towns, right now it's an agreement between us that when someone comes into Westmont, let's say Downers Grove comes into Westmont or Hinsdale comes into Westmont for an ambulance to back us up with ambulance service, they don't charge us, we don't charge them. Now we're looking at, through our mutual aid association, of charging for our neighboring town where we're going so that it's an even response from everyone. Because if we go to Downers Grove and don't charge, and Downers Grove comes to Westmont and does charge, that's not right.
Frank,
but you can
So we're
take,
trying to even that out.
You can take that, and here's the question I have on that then. Okay, Downers Grove comes here to cover because we're busy. We get another call, Downers goes to one of our residents. Is it understood that even though it's a Downers unit that's picking these people up, that the bill is still going to come from Westmont, or is the bill going to come from Downers?
Downers Grove.
So if you have a car accident, a multiple car accident, and you have 3 fire departments or districts respond, it's a crapshoot as to who transports you and what you get billed?
Yes, it could be that way.
How often does that happen?
Such as today. Today, we were very busy, and we had, in our station, running out on calls, we had all 3 ambulances, along with 2 ALS engines, working all at the same time. We had Tri-State come into the station for backup. Tri-State went out on one of our ambulance calls. We brought Argonne Laboratory ambulance in. They sat in, they went out on a call. We were using everyone. We were so busy today. And we're increasing our ambulance load. We're increasing that each year. And so this is something we have to look at, and we're trying to get together with our mutual aid ambulance to make sure we're all on the same page. And so the fire department's trying to do its job, and now we're bringing this information before you.
Maybe I can clear a little.
Here's a thought. Why not, if you talk about the mutual aid thing, why not maybe all of the departments get together with their contracts with the paramedics or whatever in the cases like that, and all come to an agreed number that's across the board, unless, of course, I know that there are egos involved in other departments, and heaven forbid they would sit down and discuss something rationally.
Well, I think our biggest thing is our village boards, because we have to listen to our village boards. Each town, and if you're a fire district such as Tri-State or Darien-Woodridge that are fire districts, they have their fire district boards, and their fire district boards tell them what they'll do. It's not the fire chief. The fire chiefs are going before their boards. Their boards are telling them, this is what you're going to charge, this is what you're going to do.
Man, I'm confused now. You said Tri-State came in, who was very high. If they came to my house and transported me, am I considered a Westmont resident, or am I considered a non-resident because Tri-State came in, because the price is different?
Let me clear up some of this a little with the the mutual aid. When we have patients that have Medicare or Medicaid insurance, the law states that they will only reimburse those people that transport them. So part of this mutual aid agreement is if Tri-State comes to Westmont, doesn't matter if you're non-resident or resident, they have to bill that person if they have Medicare or Medicaid, because that's the way the law states. Now, those people that don't have Medicare or Medicaid, what we're talking about in Division 10 is having an intergovernmental agreement where Oak Brook, Clarendon Hills, Tri-State, Darien Woodridge, and Downers Grove that comes into our town now, we would all agree that we would charge the same. Okay?
But we don't have that now.
We don't have that now.
So what happens when she gets picked up from Tri-State now?
What am I getting billed?
You get charged non-resident rate.
That's what Lee was just
That's what I'm.
From Tri-State.
You know, if Pat's not Medicare or Medicaid,
No,
okay,
I'm insurance.
then they don't bill, because they can't bill.
Oh, they don't bill at
It's
all?
part of the mutual aid agreement,
Right now?
right now.
So she would not get a bill from anyone.
Oh, so I'm better off waiting and listening to the phone calls and making
What?
sure they're all out in the street busy, and then I'll call.
What,
If you last that long.
what every other department around Westmont has done, okay, is that if Westmont goes into Tri-State and they're not Medicare or Medicaid, Tri-State will call us for the information. We give them the information. They end up sending the bill to their resident.
For what amount, though?
Yeah,
Or if they're a resident or if they're a non-resident, whatever their amounts are.
whatever their amount is. So
Their-
their
whatever
amount
their
is
rates are.
$1,000 and ours is 600. I would be getting a $1,000 bill instead of 600.
If you lived in Tri-State.
No, if I lived here and Tri-State picked me up, they won't
No, you wouldn't get a
Okay.
bill.
for now.
Okay. We're the only department that has not done that,
But we don't give
Okay.
the information.
right? Or we call Tri-State and get the information when they come to our town, or Downers Grove or whatever. So that's what we're working on now because of the new Medicare and Medicaid laws. And the reason that you see some of these increases is because of the increases in what Medicaid and Medicare has gone up to reimburse for transports, for basic life support or advanced life support. So that's a large portion of this is because of that.
Well, I agree in raising if the insurances or Medicare pays for it. My problem is unless I see something added saying the rest will be waived off to a resident, that's where I'm still gonna have a problem. I've had people ask where my tax money's going because they didn't realize until they got that bill that they were even gonna get billed. They just,
Well, the Division 10 is trying to work it out through its mutual aid, and we've been talking about this for a while, all right? It just hasn't come all about. And there have been people from Westmont who get picked up by Clarendon Hills or something like that. They're receiving a bill of $1,000 or more, and they want to know why. Right? So we're trying to work it out between different agencies and along with our boards of trustees to make sure that everyone is treated as fairly as possible. But there are changes, there are differences between towns and costs and everything.
You think it's going to happen?
Yeah, it will happen, yeah.
We have copies of intergovernmental agreements from 4 departments from up north, the Skokie area, Des Plaines. 4 towns up there did it, and they're municipal, towns. So
we're to use what they've done with their ordinances as a boilerplate and then try and rework it for us.
so you wanna even, now is in here that you wanna charge even for, no transfer? Or right now you're looking only for transfer? Transport to the hospital. Because right now we don't charge if they sign a waiver and they don't want transport.
correct.
Is this in here you're putting in for people whether, just for showing up?
Two new
The
things we're
transport-
recommending is treat non-transport for resident and non-resident, because insurance will reimburse, or Medicare or Medicaid will reimburse for that.
The word here is treat.
And
All
what's
right.
come for you?
And
What's
what's the
under-
definition of treat? All right, and my conversation with Lynn Drowley, and I'm looking to see where she's at.
Still gone.
All
She
right.
pulled us on purpose.
All right. When we come in and we have to, let's just say someone is in a diabetic coma, and we have to do certain procedures with that person. If that person comes out of it, fine, everything's great. We just spent, 25 minutes, a half hour with them. We administered aid to them. That person would then be charged because we're actually doing something. If we get to someone's house, they're not feeling well, we take their temperature, we talk to them, everything's fine, they don't need anything, they need a bandage if it's a minor thing, there's no charge for that. There's no charge for that. So there's going to be like an itemized to-do list. If we do these certain things, then that individual would then be charged. That would be treat. For minor things, we show up at someone's house, they don't feel good, whatnot, we talk to them, we do some minor therapy with them, that would be a non-treat. But it would be laid out, everyone would understand.
I'm just thinking about the people who, sometimes it's not the person who's injured that makes the emergency call, it's somebody else. And then, that person kind of shakes it off and says, I'm okay. I just want to make sure that person's not going to get a charge because some good Samaritan called 911 and said, it looks like this person.
We had that incident at the schools where some child gets hurt on the playground. And then someone makes a phone call, and then we have the parents showing up, we have the ambulance there taking the child off to the hospital, and the parents saying, wait a minute, I didn't authorize this. No, but the school did. In cases like that, and we find out about it, no charge. We work with everyone in town. We're up front, we have a pretty good rapport with people and good reputation. And at the same time, I understand what Trustee Lee Fleming is saying, and you too, Al. And but we want to make sure that you have the right information so that you can make the right decision. Fire department is neutral on it, we're just bringing information forward.
It's a very complicated issue, obviously, that's popped up before us. There's no way that you can come up with enough information for us to make any kind of decision on Monday. We're leaving our residents, our taxpayers out of this. I think they should have an opportunity, if they so desire, to come in and comment on this issue. It's extremely important to each and every one of us when we need that service. But if the word gets out that the Village of Westmont is providing free paramedic service to our residents, you're going to have people calling you when they have a headache and they get a little nick in their finger. It's wonderful if we can afford to do that. We're making cutbacks in every single department and cutbacks like crazy. And to now come forward and say, we have the money to provide free ambulance care, that is paramedics, whatever, that's wonderful. But we can't afford to do that. If we start doing that and our costs go up, who's gonna pay for that? We're trying to be as cost conscious as we possibly can. And I'm all in favor of giving them whatever services that we can free. But if a resident doesn't have Medicare, Medicaid, doesn't have insurance, and makes that call, they're gonna be abusing the system. I'm sorry. If that service is available, there are gonna be people more than are doing it now, and probably a lot more that will take advantage of that. And where's all the money going to come from? I mean, we're trying to be as budget cost conscious as we can, and it's just an issue that we've got to look at very, very closely before we make any changes. But I think we should offer the opportunity for anyone that might be listening, and whenever we have important issues like this, the reporter, the newspaper is not here to take notice and get it in the newspaper. But I think it's something very important that if a resident has a comment, an opinion on this, because they're the ones ultimately paying for it, that they should have that opportunity as well. And we all know what a wonderful service the village has provided, and I've used it for myself when I had an accident, my parents. It's absolutely wonderful, and there's everything we want to do, everything we can to continue that service, but continue it at a cost that's fair to everyone involved.
Just adding my 2 cents to just repeat what the chief has said. I'm fortunate to be in part of public safety and be on this board. This conversation is not new. You have brought this to us, and I remember the same roundtable comments and discussion, and that's what I appreciate about this board and the mayor's comments with getting the residents, because it's not taken lightly, and we do discuss it, and we appreciate you bringing it to us. It's just our job to make that decision. So if it looks like we're beating you up, we're not. And you know that because this is not the first time you've gone through it, and I've been through it with you. So we appreciate it. It's just a tough...
Maybe that you weren't asking the right questions because, I know what your job is, and I know what our job is, to bring, that's why I kept saying, we're here to bring you information. It's hard to make those decisions. Like the mayor said, now's the time maybe to open this up and let everyone speak.
Right.
Is there a way to figure out like the per cost per, every time you go out? Like it was basically what Trustee Fleming was saying. I think
What your baseline cost is per call.
Baseline cost, because the only thing is I look at these.
Which would have to be an average.
You're looking at, that's what you were getting at. Because down is 450, 1,000, 650. They almost seem arbitrary, and if they're kind of dictated by Medicaid or Medicare, you would think they'd be a little bit more in line. And I realize costs for different communities, equipment, personnel is going to be different, but is there a way to come up
with some numbers for you.
Baseline, when you want to call, this is kind of what it would, because we're not trying to make money on the residents on
We could put
this.
the cost down, would it be over a certain time period for X number of paramedics, and how many calls they might go on and things like that. Besides doing paramedic work, they also do they're firefighter paramedics. They do 2 jobs. They might do 2 or 3 or 4 different jobs. We don't have our own cleaning service. We take care of our own buildings. We do our own maintenance. We take care of everything we need to do, plus the work at hand. We go out and do pre-plans on buildings and so on and so forth. So we're out there doing a lot of things besides paramedic service. All right.
I would have to echo something the mayor said. Actually, I'm kind of glad the newspaper's not here tonight because I'm sure it wouldn't be right when it got printed anyway. So, because I'm sure the headline would say Westmont is planning on giving free ambulance service because they don't pay attention.
No, they would probably do the opposite.
They would, yeah. I mean,
they charge the residents more again.
I mean, I'm sorry that's a cheap shot, but
I know.
I'm sorry, I don't think they do a good job anymore.
In case anybody turned in when we were talking about charging for fire service calls, that is not a proposal that we're entertaining right now.
Not yet. Not yet.
No.
So Mayor,
We'll not be bringing it to us.
postpone this items and how you like the agenda to read?
I think that's a reasonable expectation until we can put a lot more information together and offer input from anyone in the community that may care to do so.
Can I ask one last really kind of stupid question? I know as a teacher there's no stupid question, but seeing my kids are all older now, car seat installation, I mean, is it really that difficult? And I'm embarrassed to say that because I don't,
I didn't want to ask it, so thank you.
So is it really that difficult? I mean, to properly install the car seat, and it sounds more...
Yes.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
They'll call, make an appointment, come in, Lynn or Kathy will have to get up from their work that they're doing, go out there, and sometimes they might be out there longer than a half hour trying to get these into these cars and taking out the back seat because the straps and so on and so forth. They have to go, as the deputy said earlier, be recertified each year. They have to go through these courses. And not that America is getting very complicated, but
So, I mean, if I were to buy a car seat, the instructions on there, I really couldn't do it myself?
Well,
Could.
No, I'm
There are some people that can, and some
Oh,
people
okay,
that can't.
so some people you still can
Sometimes-
possibly.
Sometimes they'll come in, we've seen some gentlemen and some women come in and go, you know, their back seat is torn apart, the straps are there, the seat is
Okay.
there, and they'll go like, fix it. Because they can't.
Like some kids can add and some kids can't.
What would they have, what would they?
In terms that I understand.
And each car seat, each
What would they have to do if they
manufacturer, of
moved
course,
from
makes
car to
it
car?
differently. So now you have to wrap it differently. Then along with the car seats in the back of a car, each one is possibly a little bit different than the other style. A Ford is different than a Chevy is different than a Pontiac, and so on and so forth.
My question of Trustee Forsley is that have you installed a car seat recently? Your children are grown, my children
That's
are
what I said, I haven't, so I don't
But
know.
I have a 15-month-old grandson, and they left him with us, and they said, okay, Grandpa, put the car seat in your car. Well,
challenge?
it took me a good 20 minutes to a half hour to figure it out. There's so many different manufacturers, different straps, digging into the
Would you
seat.
pay $20
Oh,
today?
I'd gladly pay $20.
There you go.
And that's what we're seeing is people.
Just the safety part of it, I think is,
I still wonder if we shouldn't just say if they have a Westmont address to waive the 20. I would rather have people
That's what
come
we're saying
in
here.
and
So that's what
have
this
it.
is proposing.
This is just for, yeah, that's right,
Alright.
this is just for, because, you know, I can see it for, you know, get the people to go to their own fire station, but I don't want to discourage people from getting it in right too, because you actually have to put your entire body weight on it to get that thing tight, and it's a real pain, but I've done it. And they do a great job, they do very good. Lynn did a great instruction, I watched her show someone, so they do a great instruction for it.
Wrap your kid bubble wrap and throw them in the trunk, right?
That'll work.
Any other comments? Moving right along, finance ordinance number 13.
Waive the reading.
Request to waive the reading. Purchase orders. Questions on purchase orders? Hearing no
Just the only
questions
thing
on-
with the purchase orders, again, just, I think the residents should know, because it's $1,281,000. And most of that is the Blackhawk Drive reconstruction and the Blackhawk Drive water main replacement. Right there is the bulk of it. So just for residents, when we give that number out, they know where the money's going.
Okay. Going along with that, on Monday evening, if I could have Steve May possibly come in and give us another quick update, but not tonight, but on Monday, of Blackhawk Drive. And we're getting a lot of questions from residents, what is going on, what is taking so long, just to give all of us and the residents an update on what's going to happen before the snow starts to fly. Will they be able to get in and out of their driveways, please? Anything else on purchase orders? If not, we do not have Trustee Emery, calm down. That's all right.
I'm not doing it.
Nothing else to come before the board. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Trustee Emery.
Yes.
Trustee Forsley.
Yes.
Trustee Scott.
Yes.
Trustee Fleming.
Yes.
Trustee Klebanow.
Yes.
Thank you. This meeting stands adjourned.